Okay. Hey, so we're gonna record this little hour here with Mike. We've got some
Hello.
pretty yeah. Hello. We're looking at his one of the cool models he's been working and animating, and he's gonna kind of give us a bit of a walkthrough about the special things about its rig and how he's getting his workflow done. Mhm. You can start now if you want.
Okay. Do we want to put on like music, like
Um,
last time?
we can put on music. Do you like music? What kind of music do you like?
I was thinking we're just doing the Zelda and chill one again, like
Ah,
just like
yes.
last time.
Yes.
Um, they'll probably put that on like a loop because I know that ended kind of early before.
Okay. One sec while I get that set up. You can probably keep talking though, just because it'll be.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, the basically a lot of rigs will come with extra like bits and bobs and stuff. Like the Tracer one from before has the same thing, although hers is mostly I don't know what it's called. It's the time thing on that she wears, like the vest thing. I don't know what it's called, but
Mhm.
a little hologram will rotate, but it doesn't do it automatically. You have to key it in. So this
Oh,
thing's
really?
kind of similar. You have lots of other components. So like this thing's supposed to spin, the cone this is supposed to spin, and these like bands around here spin as well. But
Tonight,
the thing
I'll be
is,
eating a
there's a
calzone
lot of
from the fourth man in the fire
this
in Trinity.
is like an old version of this rig, and it doesn't come with controllers for those. So I actually wanted to see if I could just manipulate the bones directly. But
Mm.
I have a newer version of the rig that does that. And actually, what I might try and do, I'm going to give this a save real quick, and I'm going to try and replace the rig. But I'll actually let me just show this off real quick first. So yeah, if you select a specific controller, so in this case it's the one for the hips and stuff like that,
Okay.
it comes with different attributes, or in Blender terms, drivers, at least I think it's drivers, that will allow for direct manipulation of a specific part of the body. So in this case,
Okay.
it's these little cooler things. So here you end up having, let's just say we want the coolers to go like up and down or something like that.
Oh, sure.
Or if you do something kind of cool, you can have it so that it's like the cooler like pops out like this, and then there'd be an effect of like smoke or something, and then
hmm
they would slowly like retract back in.
Like when he's doing
Uh,
some sort of cool power slide or he's running really fast, you can have him like come to a stop, take a deep breath, and just like eject steam or something.
yeah, so at the very end of the animation, he does a backflip. So I could probably have it like that. And the thing is, like, no one's gonna see that. But it's just
Mm.
something kind of cool to
It's
have.
some
So if you're
juice.
trying,
I'm going to go into the exec chat room and then um, turn on the music. Actually,
okay, sounds good.
let's see.
Time being, what I'm gonna do though is I'm just gonna have them kind of spin. So they're gonna
Mhm.
spin. Is it a max? I think it's a max.
Now the trick about that, right, is that I'm not able to see what you're doing now because we're recording the screen. Right.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I'm just turning on the playlist. I think I remember how this key works. There it goes. All right, it's begun. All right, ready to go.
I see. Turn it down a little bit.
Four.
Nope. Cool. So yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to set a key right here. Um, like that. So I have cool spin, and then I want to basically infinite loop. So I have to like just turn on music a tiny bit. We want to have on like an infinite loop, but we want to have it at a specific like time, or not time, but a specific rate. So we don't want it to be too fast. So we can say maybe like 20 here, and then have this linear and then infinite, kind of like that. Excuse me, I don't actually know how fast that is, so I'll have to get to a spot where he's sort of stationary. Um, should be about here, I think. So he's there. Move this like that. Okay. Okay, that's like blasting off. Alright, so I might want to adjust that a teeny bit so it's just not quite as fast. So if I do it here, see, that's one of the things that someone was asking me about animating. So they've never animated before, and in Blender you have your your dope sheet or whatever. Although I think it's called like an
Are
action
you
graph or
talking
something.
about the the curves or
No, the actual dope sheet.
all right? So all the dots they don't show you the
Yeah.
curves. They show you where the points would be on the Beziers.
Yeah, yeah. The which is the dope sheet or the X sheet or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, it's called a dope sheet. Yeah.
So yeah, so he was like, can't I just change something there? And I said, well, yeah, you could, but it's gonna look really janky
Hmm.
because you're not smoothing out your curve in the first
Right.
place. So
It'd mess up the
you need to use
timing.
the curve. Exactly, yeah. And I was showing him all these different things you could do with the curve editor. And I said, one of the things is being able to manipulate your not your speed, but your I guess the values directly without having to fiddle around with
Hmm.
your channel box or whatever. Or even if even if the value is not even on the timeline, like right here, you just go to wherever it is in the graph editor, and then you can just manipulate it like that, and then that will affect wherever you currently are, probably depending on how your curves are set up. So in this case, the I slowed down the cooler spin, so I think this is a lot more like manageable.
Hmm.
So I figured, okay, that's okay to have.
Does the
So
spike through
the
his chest also spin?
it's supposed to, yeah, but the controller isn't there. So what I actually want to see is if there's bones that I can just manually
Or like, yeah.
manipulate. Oh, actually, there's one thing I wanted to try. Um,
Hmm. The spike has this like
so
weird feeling of being like a battery almost.
it sounds like for me, it's kind of like a like a pulse. I don't know how to describe it. I
Hmm.
want to. There is a chance my stream can crash. Just if I'm doing this, just by the way,
Okay.
what I'm trying to do is hang on, give me one sec. So I'm not saving.
Hmm.
Just asking. So you might not actually see that screen, but normally in Maya, what you end up doing is if you have a rig that already exists or a scene or something that you're given, like this one. So this scene itself, the entire thing was given like pre-made already, and um, Ubisoft's like, okay, you can have your own rig, but the animation has to either be traversal, so you go from this point all the way around to here, and then all the way down, and you jump through like this window or
Oh,
whatever,
so
or
they hand you like an
you do a
obstacle
takedown.
course.
Yeah, it's like an obstacle course.
Right.
Or you either do an elimination. So in this
Hmm.
case, you can start from stage A, which is this.
Yep.
You go to stage B, and then you eliminate. And but then they said eliminate. They didn't specifically say it has to be a
Yeah, a
takedown or
knife down,
whatever.
a knife in the neck, that sort of thing. I
Yeah. So my elimination is this.
I think that that's probably like the secret, uh, the secret thing they wanted you to do. It almost feels like, because it looks just like the perfect thing, but no, you got to choose where you put the battle droid, right? Like they just gave you the environment, yeah.
Well, they had a target right here, so they said
All
this
right.
is the target. So I didn't move the target. This is where
Hmm.
the target was. So the battle grid was, and I said I could do a takedown, like a physical one,
Right.
as opposed to a mental one.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make it kind of special.
We might have.
How can I do that? Just
That's so good. They might have expected you to like use the beam as a diving board, but no, you were just like, let's topple this like a domino. Yeah.
yeah, and I got the idea originally because the character traverses, they go this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they actually knocked that over
Oh.
team, and I was like, I could actually use the other one, just like knock it over.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I want to do like this. I thought this was clever. I didn't want to,
It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
r slash I am very smart, but
Yeah,
I didn't want
it
to change
really
this.
looks like the robot guy sort of thinks this is an idea and does it.
Yeah. So the key part for me when it came to making this was that I needed to make it so that it was like an impromptu action by the character,
Mm-hmm.
as a way to eliminate the target. Because initially I could have done, standard like an Assassin's Creed takedown. He
Right.
gets
Yeah.
to the top and then air assassinates. But
Huh?
I thought, what if we had it so that he looks down and finds ways of eliminating him? So um, he
Okay.
sees the pillar, and then he goes. He says, "Oh, I can just knock that down." So he jumps off. He does a little back a bit, gets ready, runs up, flips off the board, and then it crushes the droid.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a moment where he does a little bit of like a calculation, like where he lines up his eye with the pillar, or like
No, that's actually a pretty good idea. I didn't though. He did
yeah?
not.
So like he looks at it, right? Like you see him glance,
Oh yeah, he's looking at it,
like
then he looks at
like he's
this,
like
and
oh.
then he goes, "Oh,
So he goes here, right? Now from this angle, have him just sort of lean his head like he's aiming and lining up the kick,
yeah, that's a really good idea. I should definitely do that."
right?
Yeah,
And then it'll look
that's
like he's like figuring this out, and then he does it, and then
that's a really good idea, and there's enough space here as well.
yeah.
See, because one of the
Anticipation.
things I had an issue with
Mhm.
was with the droid, because I put up like work in progress shots of the droid like getting smushed,
Mhm.
and one of the issues that I always have is um I have this huge mess of a timeline, and I go, oh god, I have to figure out what which attributes are like that are just curves. Hang on, let me just pull this up real quick, because there are some curves that, or sorry, some keys that aren't really necessary, right? So this one, for instance, so these two aren't necessary. I could just delete them, and the action's going to be the same. The problem is if I remove this set of keys, this changes the action completely. So I have a lot of those everywhere, which I think is bad. Um, and I was like, oh god. So if I delete, say, all of 275 or whatever this is, I have to make sure that the frames on 265 are linked up like properly so that the action doesn't really change too much. And I had that issue with the battle droid, so I spent like
Right.
hours redoing the battle droid one, from him turning around and then trying to jump and getting smushed to him kicking this rock and then just falling over like that. But yeah, the head, that is a really good idea. I really like that idea. Sorry, Drew, you were saying something, and I rudely interrupted you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What was that?
I don't know what I said actually.
All right. I
Oh,
think you
my
should
bad.
I
like
think it was something about anticipation.
yeah. Yeah, this is
Oh yeah,
exactly
that's right.
that. So get behind his head, right, and let's see if we can line up this view so we know what he's doing. Yeah.
I was actually lining it up from down here as well.
Hmm. We can get it both ways. From this boy's perspective, there he is.
Yeah, so you have one there. So I have to put down basically what I do
Hmm.
is if I want to have an isolated action like that. So normally it's like this, right? Now there's two ways I can do this. The first one, which this is the way I've been doing it the entire time, is directly editing the timeline. So I would put an additional key like at frame 520, and it'd probably be at 524 because he's going to turn back. Actually, might be a little bit earlier, whatever. And then it just makes the timeline a huge mess. Or you end up making an additional um, animation layer. Now in Blender, I don't know how to do that. I think we could definitely look it up and see if there is capability.
It might be possible through the nonlinear animation strip layer, where you are
Oh, that's right. Yes, we talked about that before.
right. But I haven't like done very much extensive work with that yet.
Yeah, I think having that would be that's like the ideal way for having like additional movement, like secondary action. So in the case of Maya, and Blender, you add in your additional layer. So let's in terms of Maya, I create my second layer, and we'll say like head aim or whatever, and that's what we call it. And then head aim creates an entirely like blank timeline right here, so that you are basically free to do whatever you want. Or so you're free to add whatever keys you want. So in this case, let's just say I wanted to add in the base key like this.
Okay.
Um, so
So this is the key.
that's
Whatever happens after this is now going to be unique for this specific action he does while everything else is happening, right?
yes. I'm going to back this to 480. Maybe actually, I'm going to change my thumbnail a bit. Maybe 500. That's when he looks down. And I'm going to key that. And it just turns into this huge mess. Okay. So it's kind of like that. We can do some tweaks because this little head, like that little focus, is too smooth. You don't notice it that much. Um, so what I would probably do is to make it more noticeable. I can do one of two things. One is either make the turn like way more exaggerated, or turn more parts of him, like his other parts of his torso. Um, or I just shrink the or reduce the distance between the base frame in quotes and the this pose.
So how would you go from this new little action you add to back to the main curve of the animation?
Did I say that again?
Um, you're gonna add a little head tweak in this action layer here. How would you make it so that your animation blended back into the original timeline?
The first thing you could do is you can, just like with a normal animation, like a looping animation, is you just set your last frame to be the same as your first frame.
Oh,
What some people also do as well, and I can't remember if you can set a key for this or not. Maybe in Maya you. Oh, is that it? Wait. Oh, that is it. Okay. So what you'd actually be able to do. Thank you. What you'd be able to do is you can key in the weight for this frame. For this layer. So normally, this is what's with full weight influence. This is what the character looks like, right? So I'm just gonna turn that. And if I turn the influence down, his head returns back to the way it was before. What you can do is you can actually set a key so that when he's supposed to turn his head turns and it's at full weight. So let's just say it's like that. And then let's say at the very end, and actually let's remove this. Does this have a key? Yes, it does. Over here we can say we want to have him. Yeah, sure, that's fine. We want to have him return back to original position, so we're turning the weight off here. So if I scrub the timeline, I'm not sure if that made a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to scrub through the timeline and you'll see that the weight is going to go from 1 back to 0 like that, right? You can see right here.
okay, I'm watching. I see.
So
Oh yeah, the UI is all live.
yeah, so you can that's one way of doing it, and that's the way people will do things like idols. Like if you have an idol, like say the droid, right? So the droid has an idol. I didn't do this because I didn't think of this until now.
All right,
But
let's dig in.
the droid's idol is like kicking.
Okay.
So it kicks the rock, gets smushed. But if I had that kicking action on one layer, on a different layer, it
Yeah.
would just repeat over and over and over again.
Uh,
But if I want him to only do it once,
okay.
I would key in the weight influence, and then once he finishes the idle once, I key the weight as 0.
That's really interesting.
And you can do that. That's how you end up creating like different kinds of idols. So you know what? Maybe we can like make an idol or something like that.
All right, let's try that out.
Already, so maybe not.
Make something really quick, I guess. But I'm really loving how this is going. This is brilliant.
Okay, yeah, we can try. I can actually I'll open up the other one, like the new rig that actually has proper stuff.
And did you pick characters that didn't have any faces because you didn't want to animate faces?
No, that was coincidental. The reason why I chose this guy specifically is because originally when I was going to do it, he has these like blades, like energy blades, that play with the other. And you animate the special, like you can animate the
Them popping out?
Yeah, like blade movements and stuff. So
dang, wow.
And originally I was going to do that, but then
oh, he's a Protoss, isn't he? What is he?
Oh, yeah, he does look like a Protoss. But after I decide to animate the other one or the other action, I didn't really need it. But you can change the. You have all these options for effects and stuff like that. So you can fiddle around with what is this? The blade geometry, so you can fiddle around with that.
The curve of his light particle, right?
You also have different drivers that affect. Where is it? Control visibility.
Oh yeah. So when he's not swinging his blade, they're invisible.
yeah, or so that's one
Hmm.
control. That's another one. I think you have this
Yeah,
here,
blade smears.
and there's one for light, right? So you can change this. So my idea is that when he activates it, it starts off like this, and then it
Hmm.
slowly
Oh yeah, then it
goes
settles
down.
into a position, right?
Yeah, you have, and then it'd be mixed with this. So maybe if someone is shooting at him and he uses the blades
Oh
as
yeah,
like shield and something, that's like
it would like
shield is like
flash.
yeah. You have waving. So this is done with the script.
This is so cool.
So if I wanted to have that pulse infinitely, again, I would do the same thing I did before, which
Hmm.
is I key in this one thing right here. I don't know, let's say 10, 10 or something. Key this in at this frame, set this to linear, and then just loop, and then it will just infinitely. What happened there?
Mm.
Oops.
This is one of the most advanced rigs I've seen. There's his bone on his spike.
Yes, so you can see that right there. So we will take a look at these.
Right. You can
So
start
in
spinning
this
that
case,
around.
yeah. So you have you can change the scale spin main for this one.
Okay, they are tied
So-
together. Okay.
So how about we make this spin? So here and let's say 15 or something. Sure, why not? Put this to linear, infinite. Now spins forever.
Yeah.
You have other controls here. So scale. Whoops. You can have this one go like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like pulsate.
Oh yeah,
so
sweet.
Let's say wanted this.
Man, I can't believe
And-
this. This is awesome.
30, set to that, have this over here, and now you have that.
Hmm.
What skills?
Do you wanna keep these so you can add them to your character animation in the actual thing you're working on?
Well, the other one, what I'm going to try and do is, okay, so hang on, actually, the original thing I was actually getting at before with the scene is that normally
Right.
if you're given a preset scene, normally you don't import a rig, or
Okay.
you don't open the rig and then import the scene. You import the scene or reference it, and then you reference the rig. So I don't know if you can do this in Blender, but the whole thing with Maya is that if I want to, let's just pretend I want to bring in like the droid rig again.
Mhm.
Oh, you can't see this. But I go to reference, so I would create a reference. Basically, what that does is it takes like a file location on your drive or whatever, and
Mhm.
it says take all the parts of this scene and just bring it into the scene that you're working on. So I picked the battle droid rig. So that's the battle droid rig right there.
Okay.
And what you see right here, so these are all the new bits.
Now,
so
here's the
have
question.
All the
When you change something about the rig, does it affect the referenced file?
yes.
Yes.
So if I were to change the rig's pose in the original file, and I come back to this one, it will also change as well. The danger with that, though, is that if you do things like, let's just say, like change influence weights or different bones or stuff like that, obviously you're going to end up messing something up somewhere here. So if you're going to make changes, you should probably do it on like a different copy of it. But at the same time, you can also reference, like swap your references. So for instance, and I wanted to try this with the other one, but I'll go back to the other scene and I'll try it there. But here, so you can see that I have the cameras from the battle droid scene. I have the mesh for both the blaster, which apparently isn't highlighted, and the droid itself, and then I have the rig here, which comes with the skeleton. And then yeah. This rig also comes with little things, little controllers
for his knee pads.
Yeah, his knee pads, his shoulder armor and stuff to give it like a little bit of extra detail. and ultimately that's
Yeah.
what I really want to put in for the other
So we
other
got 30
rig.
minutes left to do an idle, I guess, now at this point, if you want to set something like that up.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
we could do that. I guess we could try doing that like with. We'll try that with the droid. Sure, why not?
It seems easier.
It's probably going to be the droid. So the thing with the droid, or I guess with an when you make an idol, you sort of I don't think it's going to be finished anyway, but I guess this is sort of like the process in which you'd have to go about making an idol, which I guess is equally as valuable. Um, is essentially figuring out your personality for your character, right? So your you see this when you watch animators like for Overwatch or for Valorant or whatever when they create animations for those characters. So essentially what they do is they'll set up a set of like stills with different character poses,
Okay.
and then they'll show that to the lead and say, okay, is this still like is does this seem like a pose or whatever that the character would do? Like, does this seem like them? And the lead will say like no, yes or no or whatever. And the idea is that that becomes the sort of like the base for the character itself. So a droid, like a battle droid, is very, I guess, bland. It's a droid,
Yeah,
right? So
he's
there isn't really a whole
intentionally
lot of
bland, isn't he?
personality. He is, yes. Um, but the droids themselves are also quite like silly in a way. Like they're a
Hmm.
bit stupid,
They're like
but
bland, awkward, poorly programmed.
yeah, yeah. So you can put that into the reflection for like the idol. So in this case, right, because the droids are programmed like the robots, they're meant to do a job, and for the most part, they can do it. But sometimes they don't. They don't really. So having this idle pose is okay versus having a pose like, and actually you could probably do this with your layers as well. So take all the controllers. This is what you'd have to do, and or not these two. You take all these controllers, and then you put them into a different layer. So we'll say this is like pose 2 or pose 1, I guess. And then here also I would probably let's see. This might work. I don't know. It might not because I haven't keyed anything in. Actually, no. I'll key the keys. So I keyed in pose 1. Now we're gonna go to pose 2, which is labeled as pose 1. And let's say another idle pose could be him like kind of like what he originally had, which is like blaster down, which is really not on guard.
Scratching his head or something? I don't know. What would robots do?
Oh yeah, no, that's a good idea. Scratching your head because like robots don't have traditionally they don't
Hmm.
have that sense of like itch, like a sense of touch and stuff. But
Right.
the Belgers have been seen doing that, so
Yeah.
it's not super far fetched to
Like they gotta
have.
gonk their chips back in place to get them to think straight.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Sure, we can go with that.
Hmm. Like when you like whack the side of your monitor or something. Who knows? That was the olden days.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good pose. Yeah, so we can have something like that. So maybe he's hitting the side of his head or
Hmm.
something. Oh, actually, I forgot to key in this.
Yeah.
These are keyed in over there, and then pose 1. Can that key here? Might change this a teeny bit. Something like that. A bit weird. Oops. And then
I noticed the inside of his arm. Is that some baked lighting? Because his arm
yeah,
is dark on the inside.
yeah. The when I did the AO, it was a bit
Extreme.
weird.
Yeah. With his arms down at his side, he looks like that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it was when I baked it in 3D code. I think I had it set to hemisphere, not sphere. So hemisphere ended up having it's like the top of his arm is far lighter than like the bottom. I should have done sphere instead of hemisphere
Okay.
baking. Oh, actually, I guess I can keep those in as well, and then pose one.
Man, they're my favorite kind of droids, honestly.
So goofy, like so much personality in them, and just so stupid.
I just don't have any. They all have so much personality, but it's all the same personality.
They are the true clones.
Mm-hmm. I like the clones too.
I love the clones because they're all biologically identical, but there's just they have their own identity, and the way it's just portrayed in the shows is so good.
Yeah, I'm trying to do something kind of like similar with this other kind of characters that I'm working on. At least in like a D&D game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, so here I have the two. You know what? Maybe I'll have him actually like it's kind of like he's holding his head, sort of.
Okay.
I think that works a little bit better. I'm not gonna worry too much about his thumb to be honest.
All right. I talk more about that, but I can't talk about it on the recording because that would spoil stuff.
Oh, true. Yeah. So you have something like this. Actually, maybe his head's like rotated a little bit. But yeah, so I can change the weight for both of these, right? So you can basically just go through multiple idle poses within like a set of animation layers.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So in this case, let's say okay, we pick this one right here. So we're going to go with this pose. So we're going to turn the weight off of pose. What? The pose 2. I think if I change, oh, it does change. And I change pose 1. No, it's the base animation.
Right. Sure.
Okay. So now let's just say that right here we want to actually do the proper idle. So what I would do is, again, just like with the run, so I'm going to actually turn that off, is always doing the torso first. Also, I would set this to 30 frames, but I forgot. I said just do 24. Yeah, I'll just keep this 24. But normally it's set to 30. So I will adjust the torso first. So this torso, we'll have it set to here. And let's say what, like when you breathe 24, we want to time like our breaths basically, like inhale and exhale. So maybe if he inhales, that could be like 1 second, and then when he exhales, that's half a second. So one full like a breath or whatever is basically a minute and a half or minute and a half. Second, 1.5 seconds. I can do math. So we'll set his height to be something like this. So 24. So he goes up, and then on his down, F24 is 12. Click for here. We'll take that frame. What I did was I just took the same coordinates. I took the same values from frame 1. I stuck them to frame 36. So now he basically goes up and he returns here. But I think that's too much.
Yeah.
But him extending is too quick, right? So we can see what that looks like. Maybe if we go to frame 50.
Okay.
I don't know where my little. Normally I have like a little border or whatever here, but for some reason I don't. I don't know why. Not border. I have they're like little blinders that go on either side to indicate like timeline range. I don't know where they went. But here we can say okay. So time for this is like sure why not? That's good enough. So we can take this. Oh yeah, what is going on? That's weird. and we'll say we'll just have that loop. And again, Blender has the same sim tool as Blender. I think that was the infinite one that we found last time, right?
Right.
So now that we have his basic torso movement, we can move up to, say, the chest. So normally when you do an idle, you don't really move the legs too much. Like the feet themselves usually are planted. Even idols like fighting, like usually fighting game idols would have a character kind of like going like this. The feet are usually for the most part they're planted. So with an idol, you never really have to worry about feet. So the next area would be to work on the chest. It's either the chest or you work on the other like axes when it comes to the waist. So he moves up and down right now. You know what? I'm gonna hide him. Give me a sec. Oh, hang on. I can actually. Yeah, there we go. So he moves up and down. So what we can also do is we can have him rotate on the x-axis. The x-axis? Sorry, the y-axis. No, the z-axis. Yeah, so he moves up and down. So his start for Z would be there. Oh yeah, it's already set here. So his middle would be, say, something like that. Does this even? Oh, that's right. I just moved. Just the. Oh, it's because of dumb. Okay, this is his x-axis movement. So he goes up and down. One of the things that you'll probably notice, right? This doesn't look very natural.
With like the hips and the weird bend there.
Yeah, like him moving up and down and his rotation, it doesn't look natural. The way you'd fix this is you do an offset. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but whatever.
Oh yeah, you gotta make it so that it's offset and the timing's not exactly the same on each one.
Yeah, so you fiddle around with that. In this case, having him, that's even weirder. Having him offset, so he would probably, his rotation would probably come up first, so he needs to rotate first. So I would say probably around this area here. So when he's coming up, he's already basically finished his X rotation, and as he comes down, he does the same. So it's kind of like that. So there's a little bit of an offset. I think it's too much, so we'll tone it down a teeny bit. So that looks a little bit better. Eventually, what we might might even do is adjust this so that the x-axis movement isn't as pronounced. So we can tone it down even further like that. So all I did was I selected these two keys. It's really hard to see without the box selecting. I don't know where it went, but all I did was I selected the first and last frames, and then I just moved them down a little bit so that there's less rotation. Like you can still see it, but there's less than before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to layer the same animation for the torso though. So here we have, it's only going to be X or rotations. So we have one there. What's the same for the torso? It was. Why did I hit 18 again?
And you have to click on the specific tab on the curve channel, right? So those are all your rotations.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can.
It's the offset. Oh yeah.
Right. And you can put a pin in it if you want to see, even when it's not being selected.
Yeah, like as a reference. So if I wanted to see, if I rotated the y-axis in addition to the x, I can pin the x rotation and it's now visible. Actually, I don't think it does do that. I can't remember what it does. It might make it so you can't change it or something. I can't remember. I'm not quite sure. In this case, we're going to go, so start 24, I think is I think that's the down. Yeah, so then we can have 50 as the same, like that. And then say 25 is more of that like rotation right there. So we end up with something like this. Set this up for that loop. So now we have torso rotation on top of the like waist rotation or hip rotation or whatever. And then we're just going to do a little bit of offsetting so that it's a little natural. So this rotation right here, this x-axis rotation is offset by frames, by 6 frames. We probably want the torso to be offset slightly later than that. So instead of it being 6 frames, it could be like 7 frames, or I guess even 10 frames. So let's see what that looks like. It might be in the opposite direction as well. Sort of, yeah. So you can see that offset rotation there. So basically, the whole idea is that the droid's hips basically push up and rotate, and then the torso rotation comes up from that. In terms of like physics, the reason why this rotates is because of the force applied from the hips or the waist or whatever humans have. How do you do to the humans? So now that we have the torso done, right, and so and this is kind of like just building a basic idol, right? So we have the torso done, so we have the hips done, the torso done. Now we can do something like the neck.
With the neck and the head, yeah.
And again, that like
make it kind of like bob or go to the side, kind of like he's yawning a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we could, but because like we're starting with like the basic
idol. Okay. The
yeah,
utter neutral idol, right?
Yes. Yeah. Again, we're gonna do the exact same thing, right? So it's mostly just x-axis rotation. We're going to have this repeat. His head is probably going to going down this way. So
What makes a man become neutral?
how neutral can you be? So there, look. So we have that neck rotation there. It looks like his head is bobbing.
Mm-hmm.
We can even accentuate that even more. Let's
by the top part.
Yeah, let's go change the top of the head now.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Bring it to some Cuphead levels of bounce.
Basically, yes. Yeah, so you really make it bounce. Although this is bouncing in a different
too
direction.
Much.
Well, it's too much, but it's also bouncing in the other direction. Might have to do it from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We built these droids to be yes men, but these are just bobbleheads.
Oh my god. Yeah. So because of how crazy it is, so tone it down a little bit. Maybe adjust here. Actually, I need to see. What does it look like at frame this? This is like that's the one that's like way too high. So we could probably just grab and just pull it all the way up. Okay. That's as high. Whoa! Oh my god. Where?
It's always fun when their heads spin around like that. Can't their heads spin around in the show sometimes?
They do, yeah, they do sometimes, but that's usually if they're punched or something.
Yeah, if they're broken, right?
Actually, in I think Clone Wars, like Lego Clone Wars, or like Lego Star Wars, if you use Jedi Mind Trick as a Jedi on a battle droid, I think its head just spins around.
Oh, that's interesting. Wait a second. You can use mind tricks on robots?
Well, it's like the equivalent of a mind, like a Jedi Mind Trick on the organic is using the Force to spin the droid's head around.
Makes sense.
Kind of like that. We could probably do that as well.
That would confuse it, I suppose, yeah.
So if we have the sort of like bobbing idol like that, okay, so that's pretty basic, and then we can add, an additional layer of movement by doing up the blaster, right? So we have this here, maybe his up is like that. I can't really do the rotation. The rotation is super strange because of the way the way this is. So I'm not going to bother with it right now. But here you have the
I was noticing that when you rotated the gun, it would also make his fingers move too.
yeah. So I have to key those in individually as well.
Okay.
So his gun basically moves up and down like that. What are these? I think those are all the fingers.
We've got 9 minutes left.
9 minutes.
Do you want to show us how you'd stack the other animation that you added onto this so far?
The problem is that
You got stuff missing?
well, no, the problem is that we don't have. I wouldn't really have enough time. Well, you know what? Actually, no, we probably could. Okay.
Yeah, let's just see that.
See if we can do this really quick. So this is basically our basic idle. If I grab all the same controllers like that, make a new layer. We'll call this Fusion. We would essentially take the we'd end up taking the controllers that we want to have and position them so that they're in whatever position we want for this specific layer, kind of like that. I want to have this so that maybe he's kind of leaning back a little bit, sort of like that.
Almost like he's, what, surprised, or he's just relaxed about it?
Well, I wouldn't say relaxed, but he's
Taken aback.
sort of, yeah, like a very exaggerated, kind of like a stun. I just realized that this needs to actually be in proper position right here, because I don't think it is. Just pretty strange. It's like this. Oh, what? I'm gonna key the wrong thing. Yeah, that's weird. Huh. I don't know why it's like that. That's weird. This arm should actually be up like this. Oh well. Okay. Sorry if I'm like quiet. But I'm basically having this set so that we end up with the character or the droid or whatever kind of like
Spinning around looking confused?
kind of, yeah. He ends up with this weird loop that probably isn't going to loop super well. This one actually I'm probably gonna have to change so it's not probably like that.
Yeah, so if you have an arrow, so if you have one of the rotation curves just kind of going at a continuous slope, that'll make the animation continuously repeat, so we continue rotating.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Let's say, oh my god, it's really hard to see where everything is. Yeah, I can't tell what's going on there. But let's say this is his confused state, right? So normally, with his normal idle, kind of like this, and this would actually probably be spread over, instead of like say 50 frames, we would say like 200 or something. So this will continue to play after 200 frames. Now, we're going. Oh, no, I can't do that. I want to have the I don't want him to be confused in like the first 2 seconds. I want to be confused, say, the third second or whatever, or the fourth second. So 24, 20, 50, 75, 75, 100. So let's just say at 100, that's when he's going to start getting confused. That could probably go to 75. 75, we're going to have the weight, influence weight for the confusion layer set to 0, and then at 100, he's going to be set to a weight of 1. So basically, within the span of 1 second, probably, he's going to go from normal to confused. So if we played it from 0, he's normal for the first 3 seconds, and then he just gets really, really confused. I don't know why he spins so much here like this. I don't
I
know
think
why it's
that's
like that.
actually a really nice little surprise feature.
And then he goes to his like sort of like confused state. Now, what you'd probably do for that confused bit is you would likely end up changing the because this has no animation set to it. So you would probably have it so that his arms are like instead of them
Like
being
going
static
kind
like
of like
this.
around and up and down.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like a wave. I'm gonna try to show you with my real life arms.
Like, I think we've all seen animation before where like he starts like kind of trying to find balance, right?
Kind of, yeah. Basically, his arms are like swaying side to side,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
swaying in time with his torso rocking back and forth,
Okay.
which would actually be also. But I think that's what way I've set up the layers, and the fact that I can't actually see this properly, it's a little bit strange. I think having here 200, yeah. So have this movements. I'll just say like 50. He's like off to the side here a little bit. Oh. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. I'm going to turn that off for a sec. So I'm only working with this confused state. Okay. Set to 50. He's actually going to be over here. And then at frame 55, he's going to be over on this side. So basically just rocks back and forth like this.
It's really cool how simple you make it look.
In general, yeah, in general, it is pretty simple. It's just a matter of like layering stuff, like overlapping. So I'm going to do a bit of rotation here, so rotate side, so rotate there.
Right. Because I guess like before you know what you're doing, it just looks like a weird gray screen that you don't know what to do with.
Things like that. I don't know.
Right.
It goes a bit like that. So let's say his rotation. Oh, offset.
Oh, that looks really great. Oh, wow. We just need his arms to kind of go around.
Yeah, so that's the next thing we're going to do. The reason why I didn't do it is because I was getting confused with like, what did I key at? What did I key in and where did I key it?
You know, if you're still looking for random stuff to add on to your next animation, having his head get knocked off and slide around the ground would be pretty funny.
Actually, that's what I wanted to do. Was someone suggested to have his head like snap off, and I said, oh, I could probably do that.
Yeah. The B1s are known for being incredibly fragile. That's so good.
What direction is it going in? This is. That's far away. Okay, this needs to be closer then. Okay. I guess we'll quickly do it with this arm too. What's this? Don't key that. Have it there, and then frame 50s, thing, 25. I think I have that. Sure, why not? I have it loop, and then offset a teeny bit. Other way? No. Might have to change it. Ooh. Look, he's drunk.
He's almost dancing. Yeah, dancing like a a guy that doesn't know how to dance.
You even have like your rotation like this. So rotate there. That was like your.
That's a little bit too extreme.
Yeah, well, we're going to end up toning it.
The overlapping action.
Actually, I need to move this back over to here so I can properly copy and paste this.
Whatever you're doing, we want to start wrapping up a little bit quickly.
Yeah.
We're on to 8 o'clock now, but this is really interesting stuff.
Oh, I want to do off the rotation, not the translation. Ooh. I just like that. Okay.
The graph has, oh, it had a very sharp incline. Okay.
Yeah, that's because it didn't. My first and last.
They didn't match up yet.
Yeah, you'd probably. It's just like tweaking like this, basically, and then you do the same thing for the other arm.
Sure.
But you would essentially you'd go from here, here to here. So again, try that one more time. So confusion. He's fine for the first couple seconds. Once he goes to third second, he's no longer fine.
He's no longer fine.
He's not okay. So he's okay, and now he starts being not okay.
Yep. That's cool. Now he's
And then if we wanted him to actually go back to normal, we could have him say 145 and 170. Alright, so he will eventually go back to normal. So he's not okay here. Spins around, and then he goes, oh wait a sec, I'm fine. What happened here?
Who's laughing? Is that you?
Me. Yeah.
Oh, the way his head just spins around like double time there. Yeah,
like
he's got to screw it on, right? Doesn't he?
Oh yeah, it's like gradually becoming unscrewed.
It's like whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. It's almost like it's too smooth when it comes back. There should be some like recoil of him being like, oh wait, okay, because the head just like snaps so quickly.
You could actually probably do that in another layer, to be honest.
Like a stagger effect?
Yeah, no, not stagger, but like the not recoil, but like the follow through.
Right.
Like spinning back and forth here.
In another action? Oh, that's smart. Okay.
Yeah, because all you do is you would add your neck here, you'd add your neck to another layer, and then
you add on
so that the action's like this, right? And then slowly turn back this way, and then you just key that so that it starts like say 5 frames before when before he comes back to normal.
Okay.
And then have it set so that he is back to normal at 5 frames after, something like that.
Interesting.
But yeah.
All right.
I guess that's layering. Quite fun. I don't think I've ever had to speed animate like that before.
I think you did a really good job. You should put yourself on a timer more often.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I really don't want to do that.
Well, I found that like when I'm doing art, that having like a timer really helps you realize just how quickly you can get something done if you know what you're doing and like know when you got to get it done by.
I could do that with deadlines. I took an animation class a couple of years ago, and it was like I would finish each animation like a couple of minutes before my class was due.
Yeah, just be like, you just put on a timer 15 minutes and be like, this has got to get done by then, or how much can I get done by then, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just like how you have those minutes.
Those Pomodoro.
No, well, yeah, but those like 1 minute sketches.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like the 3 seconds.
Right. I'm going to take off the recording now, but this is pretty cool. All right.